So I'm going to show you today how to use some plaster of Paris, which is this type of plaster that's on a roll and also has a special cloth. So when it's added with water, you can apply it onto your sculpture. So this is going to be your the body, obviously, of your Alebrije, and it's the armature. So the armature is something that is used as like the skeleton for your project, and then we'll add on this to be our paper mache. So ahead of time I cut some strips for you all, but if you ever have to cut some, probably do about 1 inch at a time. You can make some wider, maybe for like the back of your piece or the bottom. This guy doesn't have any legs, but if you have legs, it's just the same process. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. All right, so here is your piece, your Alebrije. So I'll show you a bucket of water. I'm gonna dip this in here. Make sure that you wring it out. So if it's too wet, it'll get your paper a little bit too wet. Even though it's stuffed, it'll make it too wet. So I'm gonna start with the wing. Place it on the wing and fold it around. And you wanna smooth it over. So you can always add a little bit more water if you need to. So, got another strip, dip it in the water. Bring it out a little bit. And make sure you smooth it out or else you're gonna have bumps everywhere. You're gonna slightly overlap in different parts. So remember the wing is just made out of cardboard, which is just a thicker paper. So make sure, because these strips will harden really quickly and you just wanna really take care of it. I've used these for the 8th grade masks that they make. So some of the plaster strips may be a little rough. So just kind of be mindful. We've used these before. All right, so wring it out and then I'll place it on there. Remember, don't get them too wet because we're just using cardboard. So I'm gonna put another one at the tip of it. And then I'm going to do a different part of the body. This one's a little thicker. Let's see if I can use it on the bottom. Okay. So, when you're cutting these, cuts just like a thick paper. So if I need to like kind of put one over the top, there we go. So you want to smooth it out. Hardens pretty nice. So I'm gonna move this out of the way. So for the body, same process, but we're gonna set them on top just like that. So it'll stick to it very nicely. And just make sure you overlap your strips. I'm not gonna do the whole thing of mine today, so I can save it for the other class. Make sure you wring that out in between each one. Smooth it out. Remember, you can overlap, which means putting pieces on top. I'll also be cutting some wider strips too, so you can pick and choose. And when this stuff hardens, it hardens pretty good. So just be mindful of extra pieces you leave on the table, or when it dries, you'll see how much, and I'm sorry, what it looks like really. So this one, let's bring that out. So I'm gonna just show you a little bit of the head. So when I'm placing it on the top of the head, some of my paper's showing, some of it has tape on it. So I'm leaving it on the table and I'm overlapping the strips. Make sure you smooth it out. We might do about 2 layers of this depending on things. Just really depends. So if you have a bump and you don't smooth it out, it will stay bumpy. You might, depending on how they look, I might use a little bit of sandpaper to help some of the bumps when it hardens, because it'll harden really good, just as hard as the other paper mache with the newspaper. And make sure they're not folding in on each other, and it's a nice little sheet that you can drape and you're going to press to cover nicely. Might look like a little mummy for a little bit. That's okay. You're going to get a little messy. So make sure, like I said, that you're taking your time. Now doing the neck, same process. And just like before, you want to try and overlap and smooth it out. And the wing is a little heavy just because it has all that water on it. So I should put a strip at the top where that wing meets the body. So I'll cut up in some more plaster strips. We're not going to waste these because it's a nice material. So make sure we're not splattering the water and taking care of our project and our neighbors. That's very important when you're an artist in my room, that we take care of our friends' artwork as well as our own. Because as soon as water gets to these strips, you gotta use them real quick or else they'll harden and they won't be able to be used. So just think about that when you're doing this process. Okay, so I'm going to turn some of it. So don't forget the bottom either. But I would work on the top. And when the top starts drying, work on the bottom. So I'm going to use a big piece to start on the wing. So I'm folding, I'll show you from this angle. It's a big piece going over that wing. Just like that. Smoothing out the top, wrapping it around the back like a little band-aid. Here's the top of my wing. I need to finish it, making sure there's no excess water, because that would not be very helpful for us. Okay. So it's kind of cool. Once you're smoothing it out, you'll see all the dots kind of go away. And I'll show you in a second what I mean by dots. But on the strip, there's always like little holes. The holes that are covered have plaster in them, and the rest is like a netting material. So that was woven. Almost like a cheesecloth. Cheesecloth is stuff that you actually use for like Halloween decorations and, well, I believe covering cheese. So this is like kind of like a gauze. If you've ever broken your arm and they make a mold as your cast. There we go. Okay, so this under part I gotta fix. I'm gonna use a big piece for that. And make sure we always wring it out between each one. And I'm gonna fold it over. There we go. Very nicely. Remember to smooth it out continuously. You don't want ridges on your stuff or else it's gonna look kind of funky. It's gonna look like a mummy instead of an Alebrije. And then, of course, we'll be painting these. I'm gonna have us paint a solid color first. Maybe 2 solid colors. Then we can add details. But first, I'm going to paint 2 solid, 1 or 2 solid colors. Okay. So that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm gonna flip it over. The top is already starting to dry. Sometimes when it dries, it can get actually a little warm, which is kind of funny. So that's okay. I'm gonna zoom that out. So the same thing when you wrap the belly. So I'm gonna cover this whole head, and then I will take a picture of what it looks like when it's all done. So have fun, and remember to take care of our supplies and be mindful of the materials. Good luck.